Lots of people are interested in coming to live in different countries to where they are from, one of them being Thailand. Always a very popular place for people to want to come and live or spend some time being a digital nomad, working abroad. And of course, with all the tumultuous situations in the world, more people than ever are looking at their options for where they might be able to go, spend some time, or to live permanently. But there are pros and cons to anything. Of course, nowhere is perfect. So I just wanted to put together 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Thailand in 2025 as a foreigner. So pro number 1, tropical paradise year-round. Thailand's climate offers warm temperatures throughout the year with distinct seasons, hot, rainy and cool. No need to deal with daylight savings time changes or brutal winters. You can enjoy outdoor activities like beach trips and hiking almost at any time of the year. No surprise that Thailand is a tropical country, and if you like warm weather, it's very good for people who are used to colder North European or North American countries. Yeah, there's a lot of advantages to the climate being warm. Now, for some people it's too hot, of course. It's where I am in Phuket, it's often around 30 degrees. And for some people that's just a bit too hot. When you go out, you will sweat a lot. You know, you can't really avoid that. There's lots of air-conditioned places, of course, that you can go and recover in, but most of the time, yeah, you're going to be quite hot. Now, this is a pro, of course. This is a pro for me, absolutely. I like it being warm, and I particularly don't like wet, cold weather of the kind that you often get in the UK. So number 2 is unbeatable cost to quality living. Your money stretches significantly further in Thailand compared to Western countries. Modern apartments for $300 to $500 per month, restaurant meals for $2 to $5, and transportation costs are a fraction of Western prices while maintaining good quality. So Thailand has always been good value for money. People will always complain that it's not as good as it used to be in the past and that things are always getting more expensive, but find me somewhere in the world where that isn't the case. I'm sure there are places where that isn't the case, but they're going to be few and far between. Thailand is still a great choice for most Westerners in terms of cost of living. Not everything is cheaper. Things that are imported will be more expensive, but local things, local food, local accommodation, etc. are definitely quite a lot cheaper than they are at home. Your money goes a lot further over here still. So it's definitely still a big pro in my book. Number 3 is street life culture. With it being such a warm climate, of course, you get a lot more things happening outside a lot more of the time. Markets, street food is everywhere, you know. Events, festivals, so many things that happen outside that just couldn't happen outside in colder countries. So that's a nice benefit, and it's quite unusual. It's nice to go out in the evening and just, you know, walk around popular areas in, you know, parks in Phuket and things. A lot of people just hang out, maybe have a drink. It's viewed differently in places like the UK, that sort of culture. It's nice over here that you can do that, and that's a normal, acceptable thing. Number 4 is medical infrastructure. There's a range of medical infrastructure in Thailand. You know, there's government hospitals at the cheaper end, and there's expensive hospitals aimed at tourists and expats at the other end. You can get good service anywhere. It depends how much you want to pay. But certainly if you're coming from the US, Thailand is a fraction of the cost of what you pay for things over there. And if you're coming from the UK, it's a bit different because we have the NHS, and so we don't pay at the point of delivery for our healthcare in the UK, of course. But many places that isn't the case. And so coming to Thailand, you will get probably very good quality of healthcare and at a fraction of the cost of many Western countries. Number 5 is rich cultural immersion with easy navigation. So this means that Thailand offers the perfect balance of exotic cultural experiences while still being accessible to foreigners. Buddhist temples, vibrant markets, unique festivals alongside tourist-friendly infrastructure make it easier to adapt to than many other Asian countries. Thailand is set up for tourists. One of the main industries in Thailand is tourism, so they are welcoming and accepting of foreigners, whether you're here as a tourist or whether you're staying longer term. So it's set up for you to be able to get along fairly easily. That's not to say there's no cultural shock. There will be. It can definitely take you some time to get used to how things work over here, but it's better than a lot of places because Thailand has such a long history of welcoming foreigners. So now let's move on to some cons of living in Thailand. Not everything is perfect. Number one, visa bureaucracy maze. Now there are lots of options for visas in Thailand, but it's not as easy as if you are from an EU country, for example, just wanting to travel within the EU. You have to get a visa, some kind of visa, and it's probably going to cost you money. If you're here short term, if you're just visiting, you can get 30 days free on arrival normally from a lot of countries, a lot of Western countries. If you want to stay longer, you have things like education visas, you have the DTV or digital nomad visa, and you have elite visas. You can get a working visa, but it can be a bit difficult to navigate these things. A lot of the time it makes sense to get an agent to help you with visa applications and things like that. And it is going to cost you money. You know, you'll be paying probably several hundreds of dollars per year for your visa, whichever kind of visa you get. And if you go for something like an elite visa, it's going to be a lot more expensive than that. So again, you know, there are pros and cons to everything, but you can come to Thailand. They do have a good range of visas, but the bureaucracy of it, there's a lot of forms to fill in. There's a lot of to renew your stamp every 90 days to immigration and leaving your passport with immigration for several weeks a lot of the time. So there's a lot of that as well. It's a con, but it's something that you can deal with. Number two is two-tier pricing reality. A lot of people will never have heard of this before in their countries. It's probably not a thing in a lot of Western countries, but there are different prices for foreigners and for locals. Tourist attractions, national parks, things like that. Not everywhere, but sometimes there's Farang price and there's local price. And it's not just a small difference. A lot of the time it's a big difference. One temple I went to, for example, I think it was about 40 baht, which is about one pound in the UK for locals. And then it was 500 for foreigners. So when you first encounter this, it can be a bit, oh, that doesn't feel very fair. And it isn't very fair in a lot of cases, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's just one of those things. You're just going to have to deal with it, I'm afraid. It's not the end of the world, and often even the foreign prices are not that expensive, probably less than you would pay in a Western country to go and see some kind of similar tourist attraction. So you can think about it that way. Number three, persistent language and cultural barriers. So while tourist areas are English friendly, everyday tasks like dealing with government offices, if you want to buy and register a motorbike, for example, I've made videos on that before, contracts for accommodation, things like that, it can be quite difficult because it will be all in Thai and you can get so far, but even translating things a lot of the time, it's hard to understand what's going on. So look, that's our fault. We should learn Thai, right? If we go to a foreign country, we should learn at least some of their language. So this isn't a con of Thailand. This is just the way it is. If you're an English-speaking foreigner who expects people to speak English to you, but you don't want to learn the language yourself, there's not a lot you can do about this apart from learn Thai. Number four, environmental and health challenges. The air quality in Thailand varies depending on the time of year and where you are. They have a burning season in the north of the country, so farmers burn waste in fields for several months early in the year, and that affects the air quality across huge areas in the north of Thailand and surrounding countries. You don't get it so much in the south, in the islands in such as Phuket, where I live. The air is a lot cleaner and that smoke doesn't tend to blow down. But it's certainly a concern if you're living in Bangkok and definitely Chiang Mai. Many people advise leaving Chiang Mai for a few months of the year to avoid the air quality, which gets very, very polluted indeed. There's also a lot of plastic pollution, for example, in Phuket. The attitude towards plastics, a lot of the time it's just seen as very much disposable, that can be thrown away, and it's not very well managed. You see a lot of plastic on beaches and things and other places. I think in the UK, the attitudes are a bit more advanced maybe to do with plastic pollution. done more studies, and it's a bit more in the social conscience that you should try and be more careful with plastics and not use so many of them, but that message hasn't really got to Thailand so much, I would say. And con number 5 is limited professional and financial integration. There are certain occupations that are limited to Thai nationals. There's a lot of jobs that you're not allowed to do as a foreigner in Thailand. Many things that you might not expect unless you've looked it up. And you don't get those sort of restrictions so much in somewhere like the UK or the US. So it can be a bit strange when you first encounter that, then you realize that you're not allowed to work in certain professions over here. A lot as well. It's not a small list. There's a lot of things you're not allowed to do. Banking, you can open a bank account in Thailand, and if you're here longer term, you probably want to look at doing that, but there are restrictions. Depends on the visa that you're on, and these things change all the time. I know a lot of people used to say it was very, very easy to open a bank account in Thailand, and many people I know have opened multiple Thai bank accounts. But when I went to do it, the visa that I was on was the ED visa, and a lot of banks wouldn't offer me anything. And it turned out there was one bank that was offering an account to ED visa holders at the time. One bank offering one bank account, and there were costs associated with that. They often bundle insurance and things, and you don't have an option to say, I don't want the insurance. So there was only one available to me. There was an ongoing cost to that account. So I didn't do it in the end. I waited. I thought, I'd rather wait and see if I can get a better deal further down the line. So it's not always easy. The rules change quite often. You're a foreigner. You're a foreigner in another country where you're not a citizen, so you don't have the same options and rights as you might be used to in your country. So look, there are pros and cons to everything, everywhere. But overall, for me certainly, there's far more pros to living in Thailand than there are cons. And the cons are just things that are, a lot of them are my fault. My decision to not have become fluent in Thai. I know a few bits of Thai, but day to day, the fact is, if you're in somewhere like Phuket, you can get along just fine without actually learning the language so much. So, things like that, a lot of the cons are my fault. And I wouldn't try to blame them on other people or the country that I've decided to move to. Yes, there are lots more pros and cons to living in Thailand. For me, I think the pros far outweigh the cons. I think it's a great place to live, and I would like to stay, certainly for quite a few more years. Hope that was helpful, and I will see you on the next video.